Hello, everyone. I'm Deann Jones. I'm the project director for Strong Readers Act here in the state of Oklahoma. And today we're going to be looking at the Strong Readers Act survey beginning of the year report. And so let me share my screen and we will start filling one out. So once you click into single sign-on, you will notice there's a little bit of change. Previously, you saw two different applications that had Strong Readers in them. We had the Strong Readers Annual District Reading Plans and the Strong Readers Act surveys. Now they're combined, and all you're going to see is one Strong Readers application, which should say Strong Readers Reporting. So you're going to go into that. Once you're into that, you'll see over here on the side, you will see the district plans, the site plans, and the Strong Readers survey plans. So once you click into that, now I am in as the administrator, so I am seeing all of the sites locally, but you're just going to go into your site. So I'm just going to pick one right here as an example to work with. So once I get into that school, I can see their district plan timeline, their Strong Readers Act funds, all of their site plans. But what you want to do is scroll down all the way to the bottom till you see the reading surveys, and then click the beginning of the year report. So right at the top, it's going to tell you the due date. This report is due October 1st. And then the next section is contact information. So this would just be the information of someone who's completing this report or would have access to this, that if we had a question about some of the information in this report, this is who we would contact. So I'm going to enter myself in right there. And then this one is wanting the link to your Strong Readers data. Last year was the first year that you had to complete this website requirement. We have an OSDE provided format that you have to download, and you enter information from the previous school year. So for right now, due September 1st, you would need to have posted this OSDE provided format with your data from school year 25-26. So then you're going to put in the URL so that we could click that link and go to your website and see your Strong Readers website requirement information. So just put the link to that right there. And then this is letting you know that this has to be, once again, certified by your superintendent by October 1st. And this is just an assurance. We had some assurance on here before. We removed the one that was about the 10% requirement because that's no longer part of the Strong Readers Act. So the one that's left on here is just that you would be spending your project code 367 funds in accordance with statute, and that you'd be using it to provide interventions and instruction for your students who were placed on SLIP plans. And this just kind of talks a little bit about some of the things that you can use it for. And you're clicking right here to say that you are acknowledging that statement. And the next thing is about assessments. So if you are using different assessments at different grade levels, you can unclick that box and then you can select a different screener for each grade level. For my sample school, I'm saying that they did the same screener for all the grades. And then I'm going to go click what that is. And I'm going to say that they did a MIRA. And then here's where you're going to put your testing information from your beginning of the year testing. So it goes by grade level, kindergarten through 3rd grade. And you're going to put in the number of students tested. So it should only ask you for the grades that are hosted at your site according to your school header file. So on this one, this is a school that all the grades are hosted in this one building. So I'm going to go ahead and put in the information and say that they had 100 kindergarten students tested and 20 were identified for reading difficulties. These two columns you will see are brand new this year, where it's going to ask you the number of students receiving Tier 2 interventions and the number of students receiving Tier 3 interventions. We are asking this now because some of the funding depends on Tier 2 and Tier 3, as well as there's a couple of new questions added to our state report where we have to know some information about specific tier numbers. What you will see missing from here is what we previously called Tier 1 plus differentiation. And now we're just referring to that as Tier 1, but with some enhanced supports. We're not asking that specifically. However, we could calculate that. For example, on this one, if I say that I had 20 students identified at risk and I have 10 receiving Tier 2 interventions and 5 receiving Tier 3, that means I have 5 students who are in this Tier 1, but with some enhanced support. So we're not asking that specifically, but we could calculate it from the information that you are giving us. So we're going to go ahead and do that for each grade level now. And lastly, our third graders. I'm saying that I tested 115 were identified, with 8 receiving Tier 2 interventions and 3 receiving Tier 3. So that is all for that section. And now I'm moving to the exemptions section. Here we're going to go through for kindergarten, first, second, and third grade, and tell the number of students who qualified for each one of these exemptions. Just a reminder that to exempt a student from the Strong Readers Act screening and all of the requirements of the Strong Readers Act, including being on a slip, you do have to fill out an exemption form for those students. You can find those on our Strong Readers websites, and they have to have certain signatures on them. And then these need to be placed into the student's permanent folder. For these first 3, you can complete it at any of these lower grade levels, and it will follow them all the way through third grade. The exception to that is for our EL students, and those exemptions are only good for 1 school year. So I'm going to go ahead and put in for kindergarten, how many kindergarten first and second and third, how many students I had that qualified for the first good cause exemption, which is students who participate in the OAP and are taught with alternate methods. You will notice that now it is calculating this for you automatically. Under our previous system, it wouldn't add it until you went down and push save at the end. But this one's doing it immediately as soon as you put in your numbers. So we're going to move on down to the sign language exemption. Put in my numbers for that. And then for Braille. Then I'm moving to my EL exemption. I mentioned before that this one is only good for 1 school year. And you'll see it says that this, and that's because it says the student has had less than 1 school year of instruction in an English learner program. I do want to point out that for it to count as a full year of instruction, we count if they were enrolled by October 1st of that year. So in theory, you could have a student who came to you in December of last year, and so they were receiving instruction in English learner program from December through the rest of that school year, but they could still qualify for this because since they didn't receive a full year of instruction, that wouldn't count as 1 school year of instruction. So then they could qualify for this exemption for this year as long as they weren't enrolled in English learner program by October 1st. So I'm going to put here that I have a few students in each grade level that qualify for this exemption, and you'll see that it totaled my tallies for me over here. Then we're moving on to the summer school. This section is completely new to this report. Previously, summer school was its own separate report within the survey. And now we removed the summer school report and just added the summer school questions onto the BOI. So the first question asked is, did you host summer school? And you're either putting yes or no. If you're putting no, then that's the end of your survey. You save, submit. But if you put yes, then you're going to answer these following questions. Another note to think about right here is if you participated and co-opt with another site or a school from another district, so that means that kids from your school attended summer school, but it was not hosted at your site, then I still want you to put no. And then whatever site hosted the summer school, we want them to count the numbers for every student that attended their summer school, regardless of where that student is enrolled during the school year. So I'm putting that yes, my school did host it, and then I'm picking my dates for summer school. I am going to Put that mine started in June 1st, and ran through June 26th. And that would be 20 days of summer school for my students, 4 hours a day. And I had 6 teachers teaching summer school. Then it's going to ask you about your student enrollment and attendance. So right here, you're just going to write the number of students for each grade level that you had enrolled in your summer school, and the number who attended with 90% or better summer attendance. I'm going to put my numbers in here for each of these. And then the last question is about your IEP students. So this is students that are on an IEP, and for it to count in this section, it would need to be an IEP that contains reading goals, or a speech IEP that has some language goals, not just speech articulation only. But if it has a speech IEP with language goals, you could count them here as well. So I'm going to say that I had 5 students on an IEP who attended my summer school, and 3 of them had a 90% or better attendance rate during that summer school. And the last section is our program description. So we need you to type in a brief description of your summer school program, including who's providing the instruction and what kind of materials and curriculum you're using. So I am going to paste in a description that I wrote for my sample school. You will see that I mentioned here what instructional materials we were using. I talked about our staff and who is providing the supports for each level and for each grade. And I mentioned their qualifications. This teacher's is letters trained. This one's a reading specialist. I had a couple grade level teachers mentioned in here as well. And then I said also that our curriculum and supplemental materials will be evidence-based. So after I do all that, then I'm going to save all of my information. And then I would click submit, and that would send it on. If I was a site user, that would send it on to where it would need to be approved by my administrator. And then ultimately it would need to be certified. After all the sites are done, it would need to be certified by the superintendent. So thank you for your attention today and for completing all of your Strong Readers reports. And as always, thank you for all you do for young readers across our state every day. Goodbye.